Thank you, Joaquin. I'm going to give a perspective on the human dimension of conservation in the Amazon. I think whenever we discuss about conservation, we oftentimes don't give enough attention to the human dimension, and that's what I'm going to focus on. The Amazon is approaching a tipping point, and that's a point of no return. And basically, this is a hot topic in science. A recent set of articles came about this issue, and we don't really know where is the tipping point. There are some authors that claim that this is going to be at 20%, but it's a point that we should not test. Basically. So we should aim for zero deforestation so as not to come to this point. The Amazon plays a very important role for global climate. This is a NOAA image, hour by hour, day by day, and month by month. And what you see in white is water vapor, and in yellowish are storms. And basically the Amazon plays a very important role in pumping water into this atmosphere. And regionally, this is an illustration of how moisture comes from the Atlantic, goes through the Amazon, and results in rainfall in South and South America. So it's very important for agricultural production, hydroelectricity, and water supply to cities. It's also important to note, as a backdrop, that the Amazon has very high poverty rates. This is a map of poverty in Brazil. The darker the colors, the higher the poverty rate. So you can see that the Amazon, together with some parts of the Northeast, are the areas where poverty is greatest. And public policies don't reach these remote areas of the forest. And the reason is very simple. They have few votes, and they are more expensive. So politicians tend not to give enough attention to those remote areas. So there's an issue similar to what our colleague from Ethiopia mentioned of climate injustice, because these people are suffering from climate change and have not contributed much to that. Well, having just set this backdrop, let me go into the description quickly of what we're doing as FAS. FAS stands for Amazonas Sustainable Foundation. That's our headquarters in Manaus. And this video will illustrate a little bit.
As pessoas também olhavam a gente como um grande desmatador assim da floresta, mas na verdade a gente só sobrevivia, né? Trabalhava com estação de madeira e legal na mata. Então todo dia eu ia pro mato com o destino de derrubar a árvore. E fiz isso durante 30 anos da minha vida. É Fundação Amazônia Sustentável. Essa palavra sustentável que entrou na minha cabeça que antes eu não sabia. Para mim, sustentabilidade era, sei lá, no meu tempo, tirar madeira, eu estava sendo sustentabilidade para mim. Mas aí, com a chegada da Fundação, não. A Fundação fez com que as coisas acontecessem. Trouxe vários projetos, saúde, educação, e trouxe o conhecimento para dentro da comunidade e passei a ter a oportunidade de fazer outra atividade, não ser tirar madeira, aproveitar a floresta de outra forma. E trabalhar no turismo básico comunitário para mim foi assim, uma oportunidade que mudou a minha vida, não só a minha, mas da minha família toda.
Tenho uma família muito grande, né? Tenho 80 sobrinhos, meu pai faleceu e ficou só a minha mãe, que já está idosa, e eu tenho a responsabilidade de ser o esteio da família agora. E a FAS trouxe o curso aqui e tive uma oportunidade de trabalho. Curso de produção sustentável, unidade de conservação, curso voltado para a nossa realidade, fazer que surgissem novos empreendedores dentro da comunidade. Hoje eu trabalho no projeto de pesquisa experimental, trabalhar com óleos vegetais e produção de açaí, e vendemos a grandes empresas de cosméticos. A chegada da FAS, né, realmente mudou a comunidade, mudou muito o modo de valorizar o local, porque eu posso produzir, vender, mas viver em cooperação com a natureza. Tipo, eu vou tirar tanto, mas eu tenho que deixar tanto para gerações futuras. E isso, nossa, não tem nada melhor do que você saber que eu vou tirar aqui, mas meu filho, meu neto, meu bisneto vai saber que eu trabalhei com isso e ele vai poder trabalhar também.
Antes de eu ser uma vida de atleta, eu já tirava com um arco nativo. Sempre o arco e flecha foi dos indígenas. Pescava com meus amigos quando ia 7, 8 pessoas. Eu fui aprendendo, pegar as técnicas com eles, a olhar o que eles faziam e o que não faziam. Comecei a pescar sozinho, ia na minha canoa, pegava o almoço, 10, 15 peixes. E foi quando apareceu a FAZ. Além de um grande desenvolvimento na nossa aldeia, a educação, a saúde e outro projeto trouxe a oportunidade de nos tornarmos atletas de arco e flechas. Antigamente eu não pensava no futuro que eu ia fazer ainda. Hoje eu vejo novas oportunidades e novos caminhos para preservar a nossa cultura indígena.
Viver sustentabilidade é um desafio para todo mundo. Em qualquer lugar você pode viver sustentável, mas é um desafio. Hoje eu vejo assim, a preservação em si, só da água e floresta, não acontece. Acontece se tiver a preservação também das pessoas que moram aqui dentro da floresta. Preservando as pessoas, dando qualidade de vida boa aqui dentro, não tem órgão nenhum que quer mais preservado isso do que nós que moramos aqui.
So basically the last message is, if we take care of people, people who live there are the ones that are most interested in protecting the forest. These red dots are the 581 communities with which we work, with about 40,000 people, in very remote areas. This is an area that just illustrates how far we are. This is an area which is like 7 days by boat from Manaus, and from that town to the first village is 11 hours, to the second and the third and so on. So to the last village is 50 hours by boat. And our approach is a holistic approach. We use the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 SDGs, and we split into these 7 priorities: health, education, empowerment, income generation, community infrastructure, environmental conservation, and management and transparency. These are deforestation rates, and we're using the UN CCC framework for REDD+. This is the moving average. So we reduced 30% in the first 5 years, and then 43% on average deforestation rate in these 16 protected areas, where we implement a program called Bolsa Floresta, which is a payment for ecosystem services. This is deforestation rate. We reduced 17% in these last 2 years, while deforestation has increased in the Amazon region as a whole, in the Amazon state as a whole, and also in other protected areas. Forest fires, in red, you see protected areas without the social technology that we implement, and in green, that's where we are present. Our strategy is to make forests worth more standing and cut, which is a very simple message. People don't deforest because they're stupid or ignorant. They deforest because they want to improve their life quality, just like people anywhere else in the world. This is on the y-axis, income, and in the x-axis, different sustainable use protected areas. And in light gray is in 2009, the income level, and in dark gray is in 2016, and in red dot is the extreme poverty. So we have pushed already many of these areas above the extreme poverty line, and the others are moving in that direction. This accounts only for monetary income, not subsistence economy. So it's the picture is underrepresenting the reality in terms of economics. And the approach is to invest in fisheries management. This is pirarucu, the largest freshwater fish that we have. Community forestry, native fish farming, chocolate production. And the strategy is bottom up. is to not come up with a package, but rather design this in a participatory process, empowering local communities. So we very much believe that people are clever, and they just need to be listened and supported to develop their own sustainable development pathways. So we have run about 950 community workshops with thousands of people participating, not only in the decision-making, but also in the evaluation of what is being done and implemented. The other focus is on education. We have a strong belief that education needs a revolution to make education relevant for the reality. These are some of the facilities that we have built for different kind. This is a guest room or a student's lodge, Amazon student's lodge, teacher's house and restaurant. And the issue is the challenge is to have an education which is focused on practical solutions, education which is relevant to the reality of people in the Amazon. And this is one vision of one of those sites. This is an area where Marcelo has visited us a couple of times. And in red is a sort of a botanical garden, although we don't name it as such. But it's next to a school, it has education, it has science, and maybe we can develop it further in a way that it fits into the sort of the broader framework of a botanical garden. But basically what we have in there are these different facilities, schools, lodges, and solar energy, and so on. We use that as a way of preventing brain drain. A key issue is loss of young generations to cities. So we want to attract young people to be there. And we have several of these facilities in different parts of the state of the Amazon. And this is, we have done a number of surveys with 100 questions, and this is a question, a very simple question: has life improved? And it has improved in all of these areas, and they're around 80% now. The first column is 5 years ago, and the second column is now. And like to use this as a backdrop to discuss a little bit the way forward, how to move this agenda forward. And I think it has a lot to do with bioeconomy. This picture illustrates for the whole Amazon in green deforestation rates. So we had a peak of deforestation in green in 2004, and it has decreased since then. We went from about 27,000 square kilometers per year to about 4, and it's now picking up again. It's worrisome because around 8,000 square kilometers per year. But in red is the gross value of agricultural products. This is soybeans and beef and other products. So this illustrates a very positive decoupling of deforestation and agricultural output. So it's possible to increase economic output without deforestation. So I think that's a very important accomplishment that Brazil has had over the past several years. The question is that this is based on improving productivity of agricultural crops, conventional, large-scale agricultural crops, such as soybeans. In my view, the big issue, the biggest challenge that we have is to increase productivity of what I call Amazon bioeconomy. Bioeconomy is a very broad concept which includes all economic activities based on live organisms. But we need a focus on Amazon bioeconomy. That's native plants and animals from the Amazon that need to have a higher productivity so that forests are more valuable standing and cut. And then I refer to our first paradigm that drives our activity. People are not stupid, not ignorant. They are looking for pragmatic solutions. If they see forests as more valuable standing, they will not cut a forest. And I use as an example this acai berry. This picture is acai. I'm sure that many of you have already tasted acai berry, which is now become popular all over the world because it's very rich in terms of nutrition characteristics, antioxidants and other characteristics. So acai has grown very rapidly. These charts show how acai production has grown. And in the lower part of this slide is a recent newspaper article showing that, or saying that acai has produced about $1.5 billion last year. And so the challenge is, how many acais can't we have? There are many palm trees. Our colleague from Colombia mentioned the palm tree from Colombia that is very valuable. We have bacaba, we have patawa and burichi, and many other palm trees that have similar berries to acai, and other species that are not palm trees, like Brazil nut or Amazon nut, and so on. So the challenge is, how can we have an increase in productivity, not only primary productivity, but also adding value locally. I was talking to Vanderlei about this, how to have an espresso made in the Amazon of acai, right? Because the best coffee is in Italy, which has basically no coffee tree. We borrowed from Ethiopia and planted in Brazil and other places. But how can we develop an industry that adds value to this biodiversity? And that's where I think we should focus our activities. And towards this end, we have some very good news, which is a new alliance for bioeconomy that is called ABIO, which is Aliança para a Biodiversidade da Amazônia, for biodiversity of the Amazon, which includes the Federal University, State University, and ourselves and several other institutions which are coming together to develop a plan for bioeconomy for the Amazon. We have been asked by the governor of the state of Amazonas to design a plan for bioeconomy for the state. So we're very optimistic that this is a venue that deserves more attention and can yield long-lasting results. Again, we have to look at protecting the forests, but at the same time reducing poverty. And this is the equation. We cannot decouple the challenge of protecting species from the challenge of improving livelihoods. There is an issue of justice, of environmental justice, that needs to be factored in. So this group of institutions is drawing on the practical experience that FAS has had in those communities, and I just briefly shared with you here, so the highlights. It's much more complex than I have the time here to go into detail, but this is something that gives us confidence that we can move ahead. And I in honor of Pope Francis, who is from Argentina, I'd like to finish with a little bit of philosophy of Mafalda. In the upper left-hand side, she looks at the globe sort of preoccupied, and in the upper right-hand side, she taps the globe and says, don't worry, because in this very moment, there are thousands of people studying all your problems: overpopulation, hunger, pollution, racism, arms race, violence, everything. And in the lower left, she sort of walks away as if she was pleased. And in the lower right, she says, well, I know there are more problemologists than solutionologists, but what can we do? So I think we should harness the best brains in the world to come up with solutions. I think there is a direction that we're very confident that the direction is to increase the value of local bioeconomy, and we need to get the best brains from institutions, not only locally and nationally, but also internationally, to get this agenda ahead. And I think we don't have room for optimism, but we have room for being hopeful. And I'm hopeful that we can turn around. Thank you.